Dear viewers, Drishti IAS welcomes you to the new series of Simplified. Today's topic of discussion is Post-Independence Nation Building Process and Challenges. The dimensions we are going to cover are Introduction, Partition and its Aftermath, Legacy and Issues of Partition, and lastly, Beyond Partition. So let's begin with the first dimension, that is Introduction. In the immediate aftermath of independence, India faced challenges at multiple levels. Firstly, it was a country vast in geographical expanse and diversity. Secondly, the society was plagued with disparity, inequality, and illiteracy. Thirdly, in the economic sphere, poverty was rampant after the ravages of centuries of colonial rule and industry, as well as agriculture was in abysmal shape. The challenges facing India at the time of independence have been variously identified as: the first and immediate challenge was to shape a nation that was united, yet accommodative of the diversity in our society. The second challenge was to establish democracy. And the third challenge was to ensure inclusive development and well-being of the entire society. These can also be seen as the goals to be achieved by independent India: preserving, consolidating and strengthening territorial integrity and fostering national unity, developing democratic consciousness and institutionalizing it, ensuring economic development and self-reliance. The issue of national integration and unity involved both internal and external aspects. The internal elements included the issue of princely states, linguistic regions, and intercommunal relations, especially in the aftermath of partition. External elements included the situation in the neighborhood and the evolving international environment. Now moving on to second dimension, that is partition and its aftermath. India was accompanied by Pakistan in independence. Thus, two nation states came into existence because of the partition of British India. Due to the forceful circumstances and several political developments in 1940s, the political competition between the Congress and the Muslim League and the British rule led to the decision for the creation of Pakistan. Independence came with partition, resulting in large-scale communal violence and displacement. Thus, at the outset, unity and social cohesion were challenged by the legacy left by colonial rule. Now moving on to the third dimension, that is legacy and issues of partition. First of all, let's have a look at the boundaries. A very important task at hand was demarcation of boundaries. After the 3rd June Plan of Mountbatten, a British jurist, Sir Cyril Radcliffe, was invited to fix the problem and to form two boundary commissions, one for Bengal and another for Punjab. On 17th August 1947, he announced his award. It was decided to follow the principle of religious majorities, which means that areas where the Muslims were in majority would make up the territory of Pakistan. The remaining was to stay with India. Now shifting towards the relief and rehabilitation. The Government of India was successful in providing relief and in resettlement and rehabilitation of nearly 6 million refugees from Pakistan. A Department of Rehabilitation was created. Various refugee camps were set up, some notable being camp at Kurukshetra and Kolwada camp at Bombay. Thus, the task of rehabilitation took time to accomplish, and by 1951, the problem of the rehabilitation of the refugees from West Pakistan had been fully tackled. Now moving on to the beyond partition, challenges of internal consolidation. Firstly, the integration of princely states. As the British left, many of 565 princely states began to dream of independence. They had claimed that the paramountcy could not be transferred to the new states of India and Pakistan. The ambitions were fueled by the then British PM Clement Attlee's announcement on February 20, 1947 that His Majesty's government does not intend to hand over their powers and obligations under paramountcy to any government of British India. With great skill and masterful diplomacy and using both persuasion and pressure, Sardar Patel succeeded in integrating the hundreds of princely states. Thus, before August 15, 1947, peaceful negotiations had brought almost all states whose territories were contiguous to the new boundaries of India into the Indian Union. The rulers of most of the states signed a document called the Instrument of Accession, which meant that their state agreed to become a part of the Union of India. Accession of the princely states of Junagadh, Hyderabad, Kashmir and Manipur proved more difficult than the rest. Junagadh was a small state on the coast of Saurashtra, surrounded by Indian territory without any geographical contiguity with Pakistan. Yet Nawab Muhabbat Khan announced the accession of his state to Pakistan on August 15, 1947, even though the majority of the people, overwhelmingly Hindu, desired to join India. People of the state organized a popular movement and a group of Junagadhi people forced the Nawab to flee. Indian troops marched into the state. Later, a plebiscite was held in the state on 20 February 1948, which favored joining India. In the state of Kashmir, the Hindu ruler of the state Hari Singh did not wish to merge with India and tried to negotiate with India and Pakistan. On 15 August, Hari Singh offered a standstill agreement with both countries. But on 22 October, several Pathan tribesmen, unofficially led by Pakistan's army officer, invaded the state from north and reached up to Baramulla, were further advancing towards Srinagar. On 24 October, Hari Singh asked for military assistance from the Indian government, and on 26 October, Maharaja signed an instrument of accession. Jinnah described that Kashmir accession is based upon fraud and violence. Nehru wrote to Hari Singh that he wanted a final solution to Kashmir, and on 1 January 1948, India decided to take the Kashmir issue to the UN. In 1951, the UN passed a resolution for a referendum under UN supervision contingent on Pakistan withdrawing its troops. This resolution remains ineffective because Pakistan never withdrew its force from what is called Azad Kashmir or Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Now moving on to Hyderabad. Surrounded entirely by Indian territory, Hyderabad was the largest of the princely states. Its ruler, the Nizam, had claimed an independent status, and in November 1947, the Government of India signed a standstill agreement with him. Sardar Patel patiently waited for a negotiated solution. By June 1948, as the negotiations dragged on, Sardar Patel grew impatient and the Indian Army moved into Hyderabad on 13 September 1948. The police operation was code-named Operation Polo. Within 3 days, the Nizam had surrendered and finally acceded to the Indian Union in November 1948. Now moving on to Manipur. There were some differences over Manipur's merger with India. The state congress was in favor, but other political parties opposed this view. The Government of India succeeded in pressurizing the Maharaja into signing a merger agreement in September 1949 without consulting the popularly elected Legislative Assembly of Manipur. This caused a lot of anger and resentment in Manipur, the consequences of which are still being felt. Now let's have a look at the French and Portuguese settlements. Portuguese were not ready to hand over their areas. The NATO allies supported Portugal's position and India supported peaceful means. There was an independence movement in Goa. India remained patient even in face of Portuguese repression in Goa. Eventually, however, in 1961, when that popular movement asked for support, Indian troops marched in Goa under Operation Vijay, and Portuguese authorities surrendered without any fight. Next is tribal integration. Tribal population was spread all over India. Their greatest concentration lies in Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Odisha, northeastern India, West Bengal, Maharashtra, Gujarat and Rajasthan. Except the northeast, they constitute minorities in their home states. Residing mostly in the hills and forest areas, in colonial India, they lived in relative isolation and their tradition, habits, cultures and way of life were exceptionally different with that of their non-tribal neighbors. Nehru thought that Indian nationalism was capable of accommodating the uniqueness of tribal people. The nationalist policy towards tribes since the 1920s was underlined by Gandhi's efforts to set up ashrams in the tribal areas and promotion of constructive work. There were certain broad guidelines laid down by Nehru, with the help of Warrior Elwin, which was called the Tribal Panchasheel. Now lastly, issue of language. Linguistic identity during the first 20 years after independence had become a strong force in all societies. Due to diversity in languages, this issue became more difficult to tackle. The dispute over official language. The issue of the status of Hindi as a national language led to conflict between Hindi-speaking and non-Hindi-speaking regions of the country. The issue of a national language was resolved when the constitution makers virtually accepted all the major languages as languages of India. The constitution provided that Hindi in Devanagari script with international numerals would be India's official language. As for English, it was to be used for all official purposes till 1965, when it would be replaced by Hindi in phased manner. However, Parliament would have the power to provide for the use of English for specific purposes even after 1965. In 1967, the Indira Gandhi government amended the 1963 Official Languages Act. Features of amended act were: it provided the use of English as an associate language in addition to Hindi for the official work at the center and for communication between the center and non-Hindi states, would continue as long as non-Hindi states wanted it. The Government of India took another important step on language in July 1967. On the basis of the report of the Education Commission in 1966, it declared that Indian languages would ultimately become the medium of education in all subjects at the university level, though the time for the changeover would be decided by each university to suit its convenience. So that's all for today. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching.